Mm.
Imagine imagine you're with somebody and it's very important for
Mm.
you to communicate something to them, tell them something, but you can't say it, right?
Oh
You
God,
you can't
I
really
hate.
you can't have a real conversation with them because something in your
It's in my mind.
yeah,
Hmm.
because everything is blocked by this thought that you have in your mind, and until you get that out of the way, you can't progress. Which is why a classic example of sabotage is when a person says, "I don't want to talk about it." It's like, but that's the only thing we ever need to that's the thing we really, really need to talk about. Yeah. The fact that you can't talk about it is why we need to talk about it. It's the very reason why we need to talk about it. The fact that you can't or won't or don't, that's why we wouldn't need to talk about it if it wasn't being avoided. You know, you've got to take the skeletons out of the closet to clean the closet, right? So
Hmm.
you've got to take them out. So you real-time relationships. What matters is where we are now,
Hmm.
right now. Part of that is where we've come from, but what matters is where we are now. Like it, like maybe yesterday we were on a boat in the middle of the sea. That's irrelevant now because now we're in a different place. We've got to deal with where we are now. And part of that is having future mindedness, thinking about the future and preparing things for the future. But it people who two kinds of people in my experience: those who are active in doing things and those who are passive, waiting for things to happen to them, right? And the there's with the people who are active in doing things, there's no point trying to focus on any one specific thing because shit changes so quickly that it's going to be if we talked about something last week and it resonates and rings a bell, well, let's move on, right?
Hmm.
Let's not
True.
get
Yeah.
let's not get stuck hammering the same nail, right? Let's move on to something
Move on.
else. Yeah. Um, and so you're a proactive person in my opinion, but you probably come from a passive background. Um, and so that's what's dragging you back and stopping you the inaction, the inactivity from history, right? Probably parents not doing what they should be doing, and so the passive people are just waiting for things to happen to them, and it, they're the people that maybe need to focus on like one specific thing because just one thing will change everything for them, right? Just one thing will change everything, and that's that's key for people who are not for people who are stuck at one point. And I don't see you as a person like that. I think that you are a person with who's doing things with a lot of things happening around about you, and so it's just realizing which are the key things, the important things when they're happening, realizing it, holding on to it, and moving forward. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
because you don't know your parents
No,
because they
I don't know.
because they never opened themselves up to you, right? So and these are so you're carrying their insecurities, their fears, um, and you're looking to them for advice, and it's not going to come from there unless there's some great revelation. Um, it's not going to happen. People pick and choose their lives like they pick and choose their jobs and their occupation. Yeah. Um, you don't want to go to a rock climber and ask them for advice about flowers because
No.
they probably don't know. Yeah, because they probably don't have that experience. Yeah. Um, And so, going to your parents and asking them about how to be successful at things, well, they don't know. They don't have that knowledge to give you. But luckily, there's a world full of people with different experiences who can help with that knowledge. And it's understanding that you want to ask the baker about baking a cake because they've got the experience with it, but you don't want to ask the baker about fixing your car. Society teaches us that parents are the models that we go to for advice, and it's very often not true. For most people, it's not true. It's just that's why school saved the world for about 100 years, right? School saved the world for about 100. This is me who doesn't agree with the school system, but I'm saying school saved the world for 100 years because it gave kids a door to get out.
Mhm. Mhm.
It gave them it's like they could get away from their parents, they could go out, they could meet other people, they could have different experiences, they could explore certain areas and certain choices. And so school saved the world because otherwise everyone would be just like their parents. And that is that in general that's not completely progressive because we're not quite as advanced as we think we are. Civilization has lived for maybe hundreds of thousands of years, and it wasn't that long ago that we lived in caves. It wasn't that long ago. So we're
No.
we're we're the people who are thoughtful and philosophical are in a minority still. They're a minority. Um, the most common emotion the most common emotion amongst intelligent people is loneliness because there's more people with 50, 60 IQ than there is with 150, 160 IQ. It's just there's intelligence very often leads to loneliness in a lot of people just because because society is not that far advanced. It's not that far. We're not. We only less than 100 years ago we broke things down into Maslow's hierarchy of needs and realized that if people had certain things that life would progress and improve for everybody. And I think we're beyond that now. Um,
Mhm.
but without that as a foundation, and that's recent history. That's two generations. That's like your grandparents' generation, right? Who,
Not that far ago. Mhm.
yeah, yeah. So we're not, and and you know, at the same time, there's been a lot of negative effects of things, but we all have the choice to focus on what we want to focus on. Oh, it's raining over there, but it's sunny over there. It's uh, it's choice. It's opportunity. So yeah, view your parents' position as something like a job that they've chosen, where they have a certain amount of experience in a certain area because that's their job. But beyond that, they don't have any experience at all. Yeah, so the um, the maybe the mountain maybe you don't want to ask the mountain climber about um, I don't know, nuclear physics or something. I don't know, whatever thing.
Mhm.
Renaissance people are the minority. Yeah, in fact, there's a strong argument for the period of enlightenment has passed. The period of enlightenment has passed. We don't live in an enlightened culture a lot of the time anymore. There's a lot of um, there's a lot of people choosing not the path of knowledge. There's a lot of people, choosing other things. And the great thing about the world is that we have choice. We just have to ensure that our choices don't have some dramatically negative effect on everybody else. But we can't even control that. So there's almost I said we're post enlightenment. We're not a Renaissance culture anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's a sample or an example of that. It's an example of the negative effect of schooling, which is compartmentalization. that you know a lot about one thing but nothing about anything else, which is one of the reasons why people shouldn't vote because they don't know what they're doing, right? So you, you can understand it about the baker and the mechanic, but
Mhm.
apply it to macro and microeconomics, and people are like, what are you talking about? Everybody should have the right to vote. Well, it's like, well, no, not everybody actually knows what they're doing. So
Mm.
yeah, I for my work in the last couple of months with businesses, the whole concept of isolation and compartmentalization is becoming much clearer to me. That people people tend to know quite a bit about one little thing, and it's not bad. It's not bad. It's quite useful for society, quite helpful. Um, but if we don't realize that we don't know the other 99% of things, then we're liable to make massive mistakes.
Mhm.
Yeah, if we start to make decisions about things that we don't know about, that's not good,
Mhm.
right? That's not if you
That's
if you start I don't know if you're a mechanic or not, but for most people they're not, right? So I mean you don't want to start fucking around with the parts of your car and going, oh, what does this do? Yeah, you're gonna fuck up your car, right?
yeah, especially these days.
We're still easily manipulated, we're easily tricked, we're easily fooled. Let me give you an example. Self-driving cars, right? Self-driving cars. Okay, the future is going to be these cars that drive themselves. Now, me, I don't like driving very much. I'm not into that sort of male ego run run kind of thing. It doesn't do much for me. Um, so
A lot.
it doesn't. I'm not really interested. But the idea that I could sit in a car and not have to drive and actually, spend that time constructively doing something else is kind of appeals to me, and I think that's pretty cool, right? So,
Mhm.
instead of driving, like some people commute long distances to work, like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. If you can turn that 3 hours of not driving into 3 hours of constructive working time, then boom, you can change the world quite quickly. However, here's the other point.
Or
Self,
change your life.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
self-driving cars are as much self as the personal computer is personal. The personal computer is not personal at all. It's actually doing the opposite. It's making all of your data available to anybody who wants it. This is the opposite of personal, right? Um, Digital data is available to be hacked by anybody, anywhere, anytime. Self-driving car is not self-driving. There's a central command and control system somewhere which is telling the car what to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we're easily tricked,
Manipulative. Mhm.
manipulated, fooled, because naturally we're always searching for a better way. We're always searching for being more comfortable. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way we are wired as people. We seek simplicity. Um, it's yoga pants in a cross-legged position, and everyone's happy. So so we seek simplicity, and um, that's that's perfectly okay. But we're still subject to be moved very easily by certain things happening around about us. There was, there's just there was a recent so-called, terror attack in London where I thought a
Mhm.
couple of people were stabbed
People
or
with
whatever. Okay, first of all, it happened on a national like a holiday, right? So that controls the news cycle on that day, so gets all the information out to people, make sure nobody misses it. Don't forget to be terrorized. Second of all, it's political. Third of all, probably more people died in car accidents on that day than, probably more people died in their bathrooms. Probably more people died of cold because they couldn't afford to heat their houses. And that's a fact. Okay, so in Britain, every day in winter, 300 people die because of they don't have the money to heat their own homes, right? So, yeah, they're frightening statistics everywhere. So, you know, we're easily manipulated.
300 people died because they can't afford to heat up their
Yeah,
home.
yeah, and they don't even print it like that because they say during the winter so many people died because, and then you like, okay, winter is it's actually like 3 months, right? And then you divide how many people died by the number of days, and you're like, oh my God, that's 300 people, frightening. So it's really scary. Or like 100, it's like 100 and 150 children disappear every day or something like that in Britain. It's some scary statistic. Yeah, really, really. So so and the focus is we're always that's why the only focus that's important is your focus, right? That's why it's a personal thing for me. It's why I don't read newspapers, I don't watch television, I don't listen to the radio. um, I my phone is permanently switched to answer phone. It's just permanently on answer phone. It just so my 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 direction, my mission, my day is my day.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot more people could benefit, and the benefit of doing that is the clarity. Yeah, if they have a lifestyle like that, because your your focus and attention is the direction of your life. And it's something that is obvious, but that people don't think about it very much. But it is important. Yeah, it's important because as a teacher you want to be good at your job, and you're probably going to spend a lot of time thinking about how to be good at your job. You can spend a lot of time thinking about the kids. You can spend a lot of time thinking about the people that you work with. A lot of time thinking about how to improve things, how to make this better, how to make things work, how to get better results, and that affects the direction that life goes in. And that challenge is a positive challenge because we have to be creative to solve those problems. Um, and it's nice to have those challenges. It's better than to have no challenge.
Mm.
Yeah. But then the other question is how much of the challenge is what you give yourself and how much is what other people give you. If you give yourself challenges, you're being active. If you take other people's
Mhm.
challenges, you're being passive. Both can have
Mhm.
a positive effect. It's just realizing the difference between those things. Um, I think it's better to have a mission than a job.
Yeah, it is.
Are they? Because look at the bigger organizations and the bigger companies. They're all based around mission rather than work. There's a higher purpose there.
Yeah.
There's a higher purpose. There's a greater purpose. Was something that I did when I was in similar positions in the past, and I'm not sure if this is helpful or unhelpful. I think that anything that gives you information, you take it any way you want to take it. But most positions of employment are sort of based on the principle of pyramids, right? So
Mhm.
to get you have 12 people who could possibly get one job. That's the next level, right? Yeah. And
Mhm. And when you
then
are on the top,
uh,
it's like there is nowhere else to
yeah,
move.
yeah. So look at how many places and positions there are, and look at how much time you want to spend doing things, and how far you're going to get, and um,
Mm.
if look at where the ultimate potential of where you could be in 5 or 6 years. If there's not a great difference between where that is and where you are now, that
Mhm.
that's that's
Mm.
that's something to realize because
Mhm.
um, we are we're slightly limited by how we spend our time. So I think if we do want to progress with something and we realize that there's not that many steps, and because I worked in education, and like my mother was a PE teacher, so there's a PE teacher, physical education teacher job, and then there's a head of department. So in a 45 year career, there's one position you can move. You could
Mhm.
possibly get into administration or be a guidance staff or I don't know, career development or principal, or, but that's rare because most people go into there for management from the other side. So in my mother's entire career, there was only one step that she could ever make, and that was it for 40 years. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
Mm.
And there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that she's gonna be able to